Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Welcome back to Oak Camp. I'm just at my mid-afternoon break time, so I'm just waiting for my boiling water, or my water to boil, and I will be enjoying a cup of instant coffee, nothing too fancy here, but excuse the noise of the gas cooker there doing its business. It'll be pretty quick, hopefully. So, whilst I am waiting for my brew, I thought I would take the opportunity to answer some of the general questions which you guys have asked me through the YouTube channel. Now, don't forget, you're quite welcome to ask me any question you want. Email address is on the screen, or drop it into the comment section. And, you know, I'll be more than happy. If I can't answer it here in Oak Camp, I will try and answer it somewhere else. It is Uncle Ash's pleasure to help you on your life journey. So, first question from N91. And he asks, "Hello Ash, can we have your thoughts on the tie and shirt without jacket look? The reason for this question is to wear a jacket seems too hot and too formal, accepting important events in the place that I work. What are your thoughts on suggestions?" So what basically N91 is asking is it all right to omit the jacket and just wear a collar and tie if the climate is a bit too hot wherever you are, or maybe even in temperate climates, so like the UK in the summer months where we go over 30 degrees Celsius, you know, you might want to just strip off that jacket and wear shirt and tie. Well, this has been done for a very long time. I mean, there is a largely overlooked order of dress for gentlemen, which is called planter's order or planter's rig, depending on if you're Army or Air Force or Royal Navy. They call everything rigs in the Navy, the rest of us call it order. But planter's order is a very traditional, colonial standard of formal dress for very hot climates, which I think absolutely hits the nail on the head for the situation that you're talking about. So basically, planter's dress is dress shirt, no tie, collar open, sleeves carefully rolled up above the elbow, right? Not sort of ramshackle, but properly rolled up above the elbow. Normal trousers, so, you know, maybe a pair of chinos, maybe a pair of cavalry twill, whatever you're wearing generally. Normal dress shoes, as if you're going about daily business. You can wear a hat, maybe a fedora, maybe a straw hat, whatever the climate that you're in is appropriate for. But that, in essence, is planter's order. It is basically for hot climates, and I think that looks extremely good for a gentleman. Now, you don't hear people talking about it. I've been an advocate of planter's order for a long time. You don't even need to wear a tie. If it's hot enough to take your jacket off, it's hot enough to wear a tie. So there we go. Planter's order, go for that instead. Next question from Guitar Player, who has asked me, rubber versus leather soles on dress shoes, pros and cons. Cap to Oxfords, which is what he's suggesting here, is the sole options he's considering. Well, I've kind of got half of my shoe collection tend to be rubber sole and half tend to be leather sole. Now, shall we take the leather sole as a starter? Our good friend the leather sole, well, its advantage, it is sleek, it is sophisticated, it is elegant, and it is the generally accepted standard for intentionally well-dressed men for their shoe sole option. That's a pro, right? The negatives to the leather sole is it wears out more quickly. I would say on average, a leather sole, even if you're talking about good quality oak bark tanned sole, so J.R. Rendenbach and all that sort of thing, you know, the really good stuff, I would say it wears out in half the time of a rubber sole, a rubber composite sole. Most of them are not actually rubber, they're you know, composite with other materials. So that's a big downside. The biggest downside of a leather sole is the lack of traction and grip, because leather, particularly when wet, has got a tendency to get away with you. You will lose traction and you'll end up on your arse in the street, maybe even hurting yourself. So you have to be careful with the old leather. If you're going to spend your whole day in an office, maybe not walking around on anything other than carpet or, you know, sort of solid floors, wooden floors, whatever it is that you are, I think leather will be fine. However, the rubber sole has advantages. The rubber sole offers you that traction that the leather sole does not. Now these days, rubber sole shoes tend to be quite sleek actually as well. They can be quite low profile, particularly if you go for like day-night, which is that distinctive dimpled effect underneath. That, I think, is equally as sophisticated, personally, as leather sole. I mean, James Bond wore all day-night soles in most of his movies, in which he's incidentally shod by, who's his shoemaker? It is Crockett and Jones. So, you know, don't think that it's unsophisticated to have rubber, but it gives you extra traction and grip. And also, as I said, I think they wear down a lot more slowly. In my own experience of decades, 4 decades now, I'm 55, I've been wearing, you know, decent dress shoes since I was in my middle teens, to be honest, since I've been interested, somewhat infatuated with shoes. A good composite rubber sole like Day-Night, it is absolutely going to give you much better longevity in the sole, and it isn't going to affect its prestige in the way that it cuts a path. My water's boiling. Excuse me a moment while I just pour myself my cup of coffee. There we go. I've just turned that off. Let me just pour the hot water into my brew. There we go. Get rid of that. Sorted. Nice mid-afternoon coffee. That's what I need to keep me going with these rather charming questions. So, our next question, while my coffee cools down a little, comes from Ian Greenwood. Now, Ian's asked me, Ash, I'm considering buying a fedora hat. If I only want to purchase one, what would be the most versatile colour? I'll tell you what, I'm going to go beyond offering you a colour. I'm going to offer you my perfect suggestion for the fedora hat, which is a one and done, all you're ever going to need. And if you want to go for a classic fedora, if you want to go for a classic colour, I think there is no further unique look than actually the Herbert Johnson Poet hat. Now, those of you who are hat aficionados probably knew I was going to say that, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, perhaps I'll point you to the most famous wearer of the Herbert Johnson Poet hat, and that is a somewhat well-known archaeologist called Dr. Indiana Jones. Now, of course, Indy, our favourite sort of action hero, is well known for his fedora hat. It's been on his head for, what, 5 movies, whatever it is now. And, you know, I can't imagine Indiana Jones without that hat. It is actually called the Poet hat. It's designed by Herbert Johnson, which is a sort of subsidiary company of the famous British house called Swain, which are mostly best known for making leatherware goods, but they've also, for all these years, been making that Poet hat, which is a classic, absolutely classic fedora hat. Slightly higher crown than you might see in many, but I think it cuts an incredibly distinctive appearance. And the colour, well, believe it or not, if you go on their website and have a poke around, you'll find that they have varied the colours over the years, as Indy's had different hats for different situations. You might be surprised to know Indy doesn't wear the same hat in all of those, you know, 30-odd years worth of movies. He's wore a plethora of hats in different shades, but they're all shades of brown in essence. Now, the hats, I believe, are made of a rabbit sable material, and there's a very sort of distinctive chocolatey brown, which you will recognise. I'll throw a picture up here. And, you know, when I see that hat, I not only think, what a fabulous hat, what a fabulous fedora hat, it also immediately catapults me you know, to thinking about Indiana Jones, adventure, style. He wore that hat when he was out in the field, you know, carrying out his explorations as an archaeologist, but also he wore it with more formal clothing, you know, with tweed jackets and things like that. So for me, that's the hat to get. It retails for £495, and they are all individually bespoke made by Herbert Johnson. So you go into their store, they'll measure your head, and the hat will be made specifically for you. You can choose any number, any one of the number of colours, which they have an option, because you're going to get it made for you. Now, you might think you might balk at 500 quid, more or less, for a hat. Actually, in the elite hat world, that ain't that bad. I think it's a fairly approachable price for a hat, which could last you a lifetime, and is also going to make you debonairishly stylish while you wear it, just like Professor Indiana Jones. Now my next question comes from Jen Dale, who's asked me the simple question, cleaning tips for shaving gear. And I guess what you're asking me there is, how do I clean my double-edged razor, which I use with normal shaving soap, all right? Because you're right, I'm guessing, they do accumulate some white soap scum over time, and it can be hard to shift. So for me, what I tend to do, so my normal cleaning regime, obviously I shave every day, so I'm just going to run that razor under the tap. I'm not one of these guys who dismantles the razor and, you know, cleans it to the nth degree. Life is too short. I just want to shave and get on with my day. So I just run it under the tap every day to, you know, dispel any obvious soap or, you know, residue from my shave which is visible. Every fifth day, I give it a more thorough clean. Now I say every fifth day because I change the blade in my razor every 5 days. I use a blade called the Nasset by Gillette, and it's quite a sharp blade. I get 5 shaves out of it. So every fifth day I'm going to dismantle the razor to put a new one in. When I dismantle it, I take the opportunity to give it a good cleaning. I use an old toothbrush, which has got quite, you know, stiff bristles. I'll give it a good scrub. I'll try and get rid of any obvious soap scum. But every so often, you know, it does accumulate, you know, layer by layer over time, and it won't easily be rid using just that toothbrush. So maybe once a month or so, I'll take my razor, I'll break it up into its component parts. I use a 3-piece non-adjustable razor, so 3 parts. I'll drop it into an old mug, and in the mug I will put some sodium bicarbonate, so also known as baking soda, and white vinegar. Make a sort of a little paste, a concoction of that. Maybe top it up with water if it's, you know, you don't want to use huge amounts of vinegar, there's no need. Bit of water in there as well. And that has a very mild corrosive effect which will eat away at that white soap scum. Won't affect the razor, the metal at all, but it'll clean it right down. And then when you're done, maybe leave it in there for a couple of hours, just rinse it under the tap, you're ready to go. It looks like brand new, and it's a really great way of cleaning other things as well. I mean, I use sodium bicarbonate and white vinegar to clean, you know, the insides of my better cooking vessels, so Le Creuset, things like that. Really does a great job of getting any burnt on residue off. So that's what I do maybe once a month. It depends. When I can see visible build-up, I'll go to work and I'll get rid of it. Next question from Matthew Carr. I've got a pair of trousers that I can't get a good crease in. I've followed your tips using an ironing cloth, but I'm not happy. Anything else you can suggest? Okay, sometimes you do get trousers. Maybe it's the material. Maybe the trousers are lined, because some better trousers will have a lining on the inside, and it can be difficult to get that razor sharp crease that you're going for. I would just say stick with the basics. There is no pair of trousers, right, that should not be improved just by using your basics. So, just to remind you, your basics. A lot of the time and effort in the ironing process is to make sure that the trousers are lying perfectly flat, where the crease is exactly where you want it on the ironing board, right? Just like that. Then what I do, I get typically a sort of a squirty water bottle, or just dampen it down, a little bit of water along the trouser, the edge particularly where you intend to get that crease. I'll put an ironing cloth over it. This is vital. You need an ironing cloth. You can't be putting a bare iron on your trousers, because you run the risk of scorching it and ruining them, right? An ironing cloth takes that risk all away. Lay it on there, press it. Now, if you're not getting the crease that you want, press harder and for longer. back to basics. Don't think there's any easy way out of this. You can't be using another, an addendum to your question. Also, is there any place for spray starch in one's ironing arsenal? When it comes to your trousers, no, there is not. It is heat, it is pressure. The little bit of water just helps to settle it all down, but basically heat and pressure. Turn the iron right up. As long as you've got that ironing cloth, which you can dampen if you're concerned, dampen it down, get that on there and really put that pressure on. Put your body weight on it. It will work. Now, just to clear up that last additional question, is there any place for spray starch? Yes, there is. I mean, I got to be honest, I personally don't use it, right? But spray starch, for me, its best application is on the collar and the cuffs of one shirt. That's it. The main reason for starch is to assist in preventing the transfer of grease and dirt from your skin to the vulnerable areas of your shirting. So the collar and the cuffs helps with keeping the dirt at bay. So a little squirt of starch inside the collar, iron it in there, it actually does the job of laying an extra barrier between your skin and the shirt. And then when the shirt goes in the wash, it'll obviously dissolve away, and any dirt which has adhered to it will go away with it as well. Same goes for the cuffs. Areas which accumulate the most dirt, use a bit of starch. Most people tend to think starching is all about getting this amazing crease in things. Well, it can help with that, but primarily, it's not necessarily the most important reason why we use starch with our ironing. It is helping with the whole overall laundry and hygiene process. Now, yeah, you can use starch on other parts of your shirt, but I would argue, what's the point? You know, you're throwing away good money if you're starching a cotton shirt, because you're just going to iron it, it should get a good crease anyway. Leave the starch, collar and cuff only. Last question. Brian McCord. What does a session in the gym look like for you? That's a good one. Excuse me. It's good. So, there's no sort of clear, obvious session in the gym for me. My life, the way I keep fit is not linear, all right? I do not just go to the gym every other day and, perform the same exercises. By and large, I'm not a fan of the gym. I have a gym membership and I do go to a gym, but I'll be honest, as I sit here right now, I don't think I've been to the gym in 2 months because the weather has got better in the UK. And for me, when the weather is great in spring and summer and early autumn, the gym is the outdoors for me. I mean, yesterday I went for an afternoon mountain bike ride with my wife and we cranked out, I think, a 20-mile ride, burned 600 and or so calories, according to my tracker device. That's fine. That's all I'm looking for. It's good, all-round, healthy exercise where I'm using my lungs, I'm getting my cardiovascular system to work hard, I'm spending time in the outdoors with other people. That's what it's all about for me. It is not about going to the gym and grinding out the same exercises every other day. So I do go to the gym predominantly in the winter months. My gym is a nice one. It's got a swimming pool. It's got, your weights and your cardiovascular and all this sort of thing, various Pilates classes, which I have nothing to do with, I hasten to add. I know I'm a little deficient in some areas of my exercise. I should be using more resistance, using weights. I'm getting older. My body mass, my muscular mass is decreasing because that happens with age. There's nothing you can do about it. It's going to happen. You can avert it and slow it down by doing, weights basically. But at this stage of my life, I'm just going where the exercise takes me. I want to walk and get out and trek in the hills and ride a mountain bike and go for a jog now and again. Not rigidly following a structure in the gym. I've always done that. I have followed my body. I have followed the seasons. Right now I'm into mountain biking in a big way, and that's getting me out through the door with a passion and a joy. In the winter months, I typically go to the gym every other day and I will use cardiovascular exercise machines. I'll go on a running machine, I'll go on an elliptical stepper, things like that. Gets the heart rate going, gets the blood pumping, burns calories. That's what you got to do when you're my age. But where the option to go outdoors and burn those calories is available, 100% you will find me doing that. So right now, while the weather is good and glorious, and for the next few months, it's where I'm going to be. Maybe in the middle of the summer, when it gets too hot, I'll then get back into the gym and I'll, use the machines and maybe go swimming and things like that. But in the meantime, the outdoors is for me. So I'm sorry to answer your question. I'm not doing like a split of back and biceps and chest or whatever twice a week. That's not me at all. I'm following a natural exercise rhythm and tempo based on the world around me, how I feel as well. I mean, sometimes I just don't feel like it. Your mental health says to you, take a rest day. I'll take a rest day. I'm not competing in anything. So for me, exercise is an enjoyable part of my onward life. And if you can think of it like that, you're more likely to do it rather than thinking it as a drudging thing that you don't really want to do. So there we go. That's my ideology. Often I would say when it comes to exercise, identify what the outcome is that you want to achieve and work backwards from that. So if you're a heavy guy and you want to lose weight, think, or take advice if you don't know, but you know what to do. It is about eating less, it's about exercising more, burning calories. Go to the gym, use the machines, that's fine. If you're, wanting to compete in a 10K race, you need to start running. If you want to, go trekking in the mountains, start building up your capability. I mean, in the coming year, and I'm putting this out there right now, in the coming year, I'm looking to get into a really old-fashioned sport, which is largely forgotten, called pedestrianism. And this is basically long-distance walking. And when I was a young fellow, I was into it. I mean, as a young cadet, I competed in the Nijmegen International Marches in the Netherlands in 1986. I was 16, 15. Long distance walking, 25 miles a day at least. And I remember we did 25 miles a day for 4 days, so 100 miles over 4 days. And what a marvellous event that was. I'm strongly considering, doing that in 26. Too late for 25, but definitely 2026. I'm strongly considering entering the Nijmegen International 4-day marches in 26. Who knows? I might be putting a team together, made up of members of the Chap's Guide community. Stay tuned for more information on that as I research more. But as long as you are interested and excited about exercising, there's far more chance you're going to do it. So flit around, try a few things, see what sticks. That's my advice. So there, that was my questions that I've answered today. Hope you found them illuminating. Ask me a question. I'd be delighted to chat it out with you. So until the next time we meet, I'm sorry, just use my email. Drop it in. Great to hear from you. Don't forget, thanks for watching this video. So just give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you'd like to see more like that. And if you want to see even more videos from me, you can become a member of my Patreon community, in which I make exclusive videos for those folks over there, the link to which is in the show notes below. Tiny monthly fee. Love to have you on the team. You'll get to hear about all of the events I host throughout the year, and maybe about my Chap's Guide Nijmegen International Marching Team for 2026. We'll see how that goes. You'll be the first to know if you're a patron. So until the next time, take care, and I'll see you again very soon.
I'm tired of waiting. How long have I been waiting here to hear the sound of